welcome. I have to say, I'm one of these kind of people that I get totally sapped out by videos like that. I'm sitting in the front and I'm crying before I have to walk up here. I'm like, I want to change the world. So when do expectations set in, especially for women, and how do those expectations change or affect our future? That's something we asked at MullenLowe in the following work out of our company's London office. We launched it a week before International Women's Day in support of a charity called Inspiring the Future, and it's in competition at the festival this week, so fingers crossed. Let's take a look.
This afternoon, we're going to draw people doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is a firefighter.
Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like.
We're doing a firefighter.
What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary. Firefighter Stan. Firefighter Simon. He's big and strong. He's got a big helmet on.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Next, we're going to draw a surgeon.
Have you thought of a name for your surgeon?
Jim Bob.
Jim Bob.
He's a brain surgeon. I think he would wear a stethoscope. He gives you medicine.
That's his ambulance.
OK, next, we're going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his jet plane. He rescues people. He likes to do stunts in the air and stuff.
OK, now, who would like to meet these people for real?
Yeah! They're dressed up.
My name's Tamsin, and I'm a surgeon in the NHS.
My name's Lauren, and I'm a pilot in the Royal Air Force.
My name's Lucy. I'm a firefighter in the London Fire Brigade.
So who wants to know how to do an operation?
Who's putting it on?
Try my stethoscope.
We put this in here. There you go. Now you're a proper fighter pilot.
So into your ears. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
It's really good. It's much better, yeah, it's much better than my kids' one.
I'm so proud of that work. I'm so proud of that work. Last year I heard a stat. I have a 12-year-old daughter, 19-year-old son. And last year I heard a stat that 7 out of 10 young women want to be, or love science, love math, but only 2 will pursue that. Only 2 will actually grow up to want to be a mathematician or a scientist. So something interesting is happening between what we love and what we decide to pursue. And closing that gap, changing that gap, has everything to do with our expectations and the people and the role models in front of us and the ideas that we have for ourselves. And I have been incredibly fortunate in my own career to luckily have worked for and with people whose aspirations for me have often been bigger than my own. And therefore, it's pushed me and encouraged me along dramatically. But I want to instill both of my children with that same expectation and then figure out what I can do and what we all can do in this room to help continue pushing those expectations aside and in fact just enlarging our own expectations for ourselves and those who we work with. It's our responsibility to encourage and inspire young minds to ensure that all jobs today are available to women and men. And what better way to bring this to life than our special guest, Dr. Mae Jemison. I am giddy about this woman, I have to tell you. I always aspired to be an astronaut and didn't do it, and I kind of feel like if I could ever come back as a different human being, it would be this person. She is an engineer, a physician, and an entrepreneur. At the age of 26, she was the Area Peace Corps Medical Officer overseeing the health care for Peace Corps volunteers and State Department personnel in Sierra Leone and Liberia. She founded 2 technology companies, was a professor of environmental studies at Dartmouth. She then founded an international science camp for teenagers in her free time, and she was a trained dancer. She now leads the 100-Year Starship, an independent nonprofit international organization seed-funded by DARPA, which is working to make interstellar human travel a reality in the next 100 years. And oh yes, she was an astronaut at NASA, the first woman of color to travel in space when she blasted into orbit aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Mae Jemison to the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you all very much, and thank you for letting me be a part of this incredible program. And let me just tell you what I want to do today with a couple of notes and a couple of slides. I want to start off by inviting you on a journey across space and time. 100 years in the future, hurtling toward another star. But it's actually a journey that starts today. It's a journey about how do we transform our world today. I want to convince you to join me on this journey because the thrill and the importance, the creativity that's associated with engaging in a challenge that's greater than anything we can do alone, a challenge that's transdisciplinary, that transcends not only space and time, but it transcends our culture and who we are. So that's what I'd like to do today. But first of all, I have to share a little bit about myself. So I'm going to start by just talking about empowerment. Because so frequently, when we talk about women and empowerment and we talk about what we want to do, we forget something that I believe is very important about empowerment. It starts inside. And that's part of what you see when you look around. We have to understand that we have the right to be involved. To be empowered, you have to understand that you have the right to be involved. And then you have to understand that you have something to contribute. That gets you 2/3 of the way. The final piece is you have to take the risk to contribute it, right? Because that third step is a difficult piece. And that's what this is all about. So as I'm talking, I'm really going to tell you about those steps in my life and how I actually got there. And the other part that I want to tell you, which expectations aside, space isn't just for rocket scientists and billionaires. That's the piece I want you to know, because so frequently we look at ourselves as this, just this little thing that we can get involved in. I'm excited to be here because you all hold the key to so much about how do we communicate ideas? How do we get people to understand what these things are about? So let me just tell you that I start off with when I was a little kid. I loved space exploration and dinosaurs and stuff. I grew up during an era when there was incredible change in the world, right? It was a time where it seemed like our potential was limitless. We went from things like breaking speed records, whether it was in athletics every day, to working on rockets and things. All of those things happened. People talk about the 60s as a cultural change and then anarchy, but it wasn't anarchy. It was really about everybody saying they had the right to be involved and the world changing. So when I was a little girl growing up on the south side of Chicago, here's what created me, besides the fact that I chose my parents well. The other part of it is I grew up in a world where, yes, there were moon landings and I wanted to be a part of it, but there was also the civil rights movement that changed everything. I grew up and remember the riots of 1968 in Chicago following Martin Luther King's assassination and the Democratic National Convention that had been held in Chicago. I wanted to dance like Judith Jemison, right? I was just enamored with Jerome Robbins, Lola Falana. There's so many things. Original series Star Trek fan. And I love science, right? All of these things are part of how you get to that point that you'll risk things. These are my proof of pictures. So yes, I made it, right? So I always assumed that I would go into space, but these are my proof of pictures. Space exploration is a part of that. But what I want to figure out is how did we go from 50 years ago having landed on the moon to when I got to go into space, we're just going around the Earth. I like it, but I think we need to do further. We need to have bigger challenges. So what the work I do is 100-Year Starship. 100-Year Starship is a program to make sure we have the capabilities for human travel beyond our solar system to another star within the next century, within 100 years. It was seed funded by DARPA, very modest seed funding. I led the team that won the seed funding. I'm sure a lot of people would not have expected that I'm necessarily the person who would have been leading the Geek Prize of the Year back during that time. But 100 Year Starship was really formulated because it was looking at doing things differently. It became a platform for doing something that's incredible that we don't know how to do. This is my launch. It really is. I'm really on that. But this is the way space exploration is done now, right? It can't be done that way. When we go to another star, we can't do it this way, and I'm going to tell you why this is so important. This is me on the shuttle, my last proof of picture, but it looks just like the space station. If you didn't know it was in the space station, it would look the same way. They look the same way for a lot of times. We can't do interstellar that way. It will be as different from that as the bridge of the Enterprise is. If you have a picture of yourself with Worf on Star Trek, you show it. All my Star Trek fans know that. But it will be that different. We're not going to find Worf, but it is that different. And let me tell you what the issue is. When we do the scale of another star, if we think about New York City and we think about Cannes, and we think, I'm not trying to star anything now, but if New York City is Earth, right, and Cannes is Alpha Centauri, which is our closest neighboring star, which is 25 trillion miles away, this is what we're looking. You saw that with this introductory video, that it said we had gone into interstellar space twice. It was by a probe called Voyager. Voyager has been traveling at 35,000 miles per hour since 1977. And if you look at the distance between New York City and Cannes, it will have only gone 1 mile in that journey. Not even 1 mile, 6/10 of a mile. We'll give them the extra 4/10. But this is the scale that we're dealing with. This is the reason why it's so difficult. It's not the same thing as like going to Mars, right? You can't count on things here. It is a really different phenomenon. What we're really looking at here in these challenges are challenges of distance. So it's so far that Voyager would take 70,000 years to get to Alpha Centauri. We were not cave painting well back then. It means that we have to go much faster. It is a different kind of a problem. We have to think about it a long time. Even if we're able to go 10% the speed of light and we're able to do it in 50 years, when have we ever done anything for 50 years in a closed environment that has to be autonomous, right? Because you can't slow down for groceries on your way. You're going to have to keep going. You're going to have all these different issues, and 90% of it is called dark. You heard about dark matter and dark energy. That means that the fudge factor that we drop into the equation to make a lot of the astrophysics work, we don't know what it is as a fudge factor, right? But 90% of it is dark. So you can see here is a challenge. The reason this is so compelling, because here is a challenge that engages us across disciplines. It engages us across everything we know how to do, our past, our present, our future, our heart, our passion, our courage, our knowledge. Think about all the things that we have to do, the minimum requirements for achieving an impact in human interstellar flight. They're just, I'm not talking about all of these, obviously, but energy. We have to do and control, generate enormous amounts of energy. We can't do those chemical rockets that get the shuttle up. We have to do fission, tearing atoms apart, fusion, putting atoms back together, what powers the sun, antimatter. Those are big things we have to do just to be able to work that way. Imagine if we were able to go just a fraction of that kind of energy control, what it would do for life here on Earth. Just imagine just a little bit of it. Then if we were to go even further, and we could talk about things like manufacturing breakthroughs. We can talk about financial investment. How do we invest in something that doesn't give you the immediate return right away? We have to figure that out at some point. It's important for us to have those kinds of financial ideas and instruments here on Earth. The long pole in the tent, after you get to sustainability and how do you reuse resources, the long pole in the tent is human behavior, right? Because I can see us actually getting all the way to actually building the vehicle, ready to go, have it designed, everybody's, yeah, I'm there, you got the 5,000 people on board, and about 10 years out, somebody says, I'm not doing that. And Michael, you were in charge when we were on Earth, but it's changed now, right? We can see people doing that, right? And then you say, well, make me do it. Because now we have to look at governance and how people behave. So if I were to come here and ask you to talk about world peace, you would laugh at me. It would be laughable. But we could think about how do we do behavior and governance on something that's the size of 5,000 people. It is really about how we look and work with things here on Earth. When we do with 100-Year Starship, we have lots of different projects. But the biggest thing we want to do is to bring other people in, to create a pathway to get other people involved. You know the reason why we don't have a moon base now, the reason why we haven't progressed any further over these 50 years? It's not because people left space. I think it's because space left people out, right? So we look at things like 100-Year Starship Nexus, which was a renamed public symposium where we want to have people from all walks of life. We do things from having artists and religious figures working with and talking about ethics to, yes, propulsion and warp drive, but even though warp drive has too many miracles have to happen. We do Canopus Awards for excellence in interstellar writing. We put together these transdisciplinary crucibles that are invitation only, deep subject matter experts that come from different disciplines to really jumpstart a new discipline that has to be there that no one else may be working on. We are looking at any kinds of things. People think of space exploration as only rocket scientists, right? Only four-year degree people. But actually the folks who build the vehicles, who do the work in aerospace, are technicians. So we worked with the Orange Coast Community College to envision a Center for Advanced Aerospace Manufacturing for community college. A number of different things that we're looking at. And so again, I want to invite you all to help us figure this out. Because the reality is, as Will and Ariel Durant said, the future never just happened, it was created. So when we talk about the expectations we have, the future never just happened, it was created. And we have a role in creating that future. You may not have heard other people talk about space exploration this way, but that's because we need different people involved. One of the very first things when I started thinking about this is I asked someone who was very big in marketing and branding and digital work to help me figure out how to talk about this. Those are the pieces we looked at. Our work is about an inclusive, audacious journey to transform life here on Earth and beyond. Notice the first word is inclusive, because we have to do this across ethnicity, gender, and geography, but also across disciplines. There is not one single discipline that can answer this. We need to tell the story better. We need to get people involved for the long term. And this is not true just because we're talking about rockets. We're talking about human medical infrastructure. We're talking about how civilizations evolve. We're talking about ethics and education. All of those are issues with this. This is what we're looking at. So it's an inclusive, audacious journey to transform life here on Earth and beyond. The reason why is because all the capabilities that are required for human interstellar travel are the very same ones we need to survive as a species on this planet. That is the piece. And very frequently, we can't think about this planet without saying, no, we can't do this. So here's where we are. 100-Year Starship, we believe that there is a better future. We are really want to inspire an inclusive, audacious journey, a collective ambition for humanity so we can see ourselves as Earthlings. We know that this is a mission that was really inspired to achieve human interstellar flight within the next 30 years, but it's actually a journey designed to enhance life here on Earth. Eugene Cernan said, we went to the moon to explore, but in fact, we discovered the Earth. And what I would ask is, what would we discover from another star? So as I leave you, I want to go back to the expectations aside, the empowerment, and taking the risk to contribute something. And I'm going to go to a quote by Cynthia Hamel when she said, when in doubt, make a fool of yourself. There is a microscopically thin line between being brilliantly creative and acting like the most gigantic idiot on Earth. So what the hell, leap. Thank you very much.
It's so good.